What's up, guys and gals? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys One Piece chapter 996, and if you're wondering why there was very little content this week, and yada yada yada, long story short, my eye sort of infected, if you can't tell, and stuff like that, look like crap. I'm trying to use some medication on it. It's kind of painful, so I was just trying to clear that up before I went to showing you guys my otherwise definitely very handsome mug. So that's sort of the reason for that, for the lack of content right now. It's been very frustrating. But it doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon. So, that being said, let's just jump into chapter 996 of One Piece, which of course it was an early one, right? Like, I've been so preoccupied with other stuff going on, we had an early release. So, anyways, point is, it's late, yada yada, let's just move on. Island of the Strongest, chapter 996. We're once again going with the reader requests, the cover page requests, and it's a Blackbeard and a hippo brushing their teeth. Now, I love that Blackbeard actually brushes his teeth. I would not assume him to be a man to brush his teeth, but apparently he does. And I love also that he's sitting there like this, like I was like, yeah, I brush my teeth and then I take a swig of beer. You know, I have had tea, coffee, beer, rum. I've had most things after, and I've had lots of different foods after brushing your teeth, and trust me, even I have to sort of, get through it, after all that fluoride and all that stuff's on your teeth. Oh. Yeah, see, even thinking about it just changed the flavor of that beer for a second, it's all up here, right? So, either way, I don't mind that they're doing the cover art serials right now. I really don't. It's a nice breakup, because I assume we're going to have plenty after this arc and different characters to follow. So I'm good with it, right? Like, I'm glad that the Beige stuff is sort of over with, and I'm glad we're just jumping around right now, having some fun, and more focus right here in the main chapter. So I've already read the chapter, of course. What to say about the fact that, the Topiropo, well, specifically Uki and Page 1, have not been looking extremely impressive thus far. I mean, they haven't been looking terrible, but not super impressive. And here's another perfect example. Instead of them attacking together and being smart, we have the bamboo, not the bamboo, the baboon character. Tom is running away on the dog and stuff. They got Nami and Usopp all together and said, all right, here we go. Zoom, we're getting out of here. The Komochio or whatever, and basically, boom, they're running away from Page 1. Like, they're not going to stay and try to fight, right? So, Thomas says that she rode in on an enemy ship. All right, that makes sense. She's a devil fruit user. How did she get here? But what, an enemy ship, what's going on? So what enemy arrived and how? Why was it transporting people and stuff? So we don't really learn that here. But once again, the baboon thing, fighting him, Hihimaru. Hihimaru is, like, keep him at bay for 3 minutes. And, I mean, he's strong, and he looks like one of those sort of, like those monkey creatures that fought with Mihawk sort of idea. He's like, wah ha 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 ha, And either way, Nami also brings this up and says, but they're super ferocious. They're like the Tobiropo. That giant monkey's going to be in big trouble. And Tom basically says, don't belittle his power. We came here as samurai. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but Page 1 and Uki are both Topiropos, right? And even though Uki seems to just be standing there, hands on their hips, get rid of this baboon, And it's like, why don't you help? Like I understand why this thing, being just massive size alone with a giant sword, it's kind of like, okay, so Page 1 has to sort of clash, but you could easily 2v1 this thing and probably continue on. Like, they're not exactly the most strategic characters in the world. And some people, I'm sure, would be ticked off about that. Now, here we have Yamato. We're back to the... and I like that Oda continues to show us, like, where we're supposed to be on the island, what level of this, that, and the other thing. Because we have Yamato here still striking up against the armored division of Sasaki. And just, you'll never finish off all of us, you young master. And boom, boom, they have these giant shields. And don't get me wrong, Yamato was doing damage, just being like, boom, and breaking into the shields. But they're doing that whole like police force. They look like a SWAT team, right? The armored division. They got the big shields. They got the bazookas behind them. Boom, 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 and they keep firing on her. And she's taking damage clearly, but how is she alive? I guess is she super resilient like her father? Is that the whole deal we're going with here? Who knows? But here we get Shinobu and Momonosuke saying, "You can't keep this up. You there, if you're a samurai, make up your mind. Abandon me and save Lord Momonosuke." And she yells, "No, Kazuki Oden would never do that." And it's like, and Shinobu doesn't really have a response to that. It's like stubborn and stuff. It's kind of like, no, that's exactly, remember, Yamato, though, like Kaido, her father respects the samurai and loves the samurai code and loves what samurai are and what they embody, but also held huge respect for Kazuki Oden. Yamato takes this a step further. Isn't exactly all about the samurai, but is all about Kazuki Oden. So if Kazuki Oden wouldn't turn tail and flee, regardless what a samurai would do, if Oden won't do it, that's where she's going. She's going on the path of Oden, not necessarily the path. You know what I mean? It's sort of like having that straight-laced type of person. Like, okay, this person is a great police officer or a great firefighter, but sometimes they might step outside the lines and do something not up to the handbook of being a police officer, a firefighter, a paramedic, something like that in the real world. Certain people will follow the ideals of that person rather than that does go into the gray and into the sort of the off-kilter version and not follow it to the letter of the handbook sort of idea. And that's what Yamato's basically saying here. Is like, yeah, it doesn't matter what any samurai would do. Kazuki Oden would never do that, so I'm not going to do it either. So Sasuke actually sitting there, still like sort of ready to draw his sword, it seems, but still holding back, and says, "If you think you can protect dead weight and still defeat me, I take that as an insult, Master Yamamoto." Now, that being said, Sasuke does bring this up as a point that they recognize that Yamato is very, very strong. Probably just as strong or stronger. She's, I would argue, commander level, easy. But Sasuke brings up an excellent point. Like, while you're trying to not only defeat all of us, like this is an unfair fight, you're also trying to protect and get dead weight out of here, being, Momonosuke and Shinobu. And you think you can still take me on plus all this, like, come on, that's just an insult. And it's true. It'd be like if Luffy was doing the same thing. Luffy might be able to take on commanders and Yonkos, but he can't take on, 3 supernovas plus all their subordinates while protecting other people. No matter how strong Luffy might be as far as a supernova class, if a couple of supernovas are coming at him while he's preoccupied, it's just the circumstances, right? So I totally agree with that, and regardless of what people think. Now the next page is what people are really going to ask and question about this. And it could be very simple. But the theories are going to fly, and I can't wait until when I finally have time to watch all the like Joy Boy and Tekking and stuff like that and see what they think about this panel, because I'm sure that's the big discussion. Yamato with the teeth, with the fangs. Is it simple, or is it something big? It's a real question. And I simply ask this because it would be very simple. When Yamato looks at Sasuke and says, basically, Sasuke, and she's huffing and puffing, and then all of a sudden growl, and we see the sharp fangs come out. Sasuke is shocked, but that's when Frankie shows up, and Momonosuke recognizes it, and is followed by Hacha, the 8th of the numbers, the monster thingies. And I said, Yamato says, "I recognize you. You're Frankie, the cyborg, 94 million berries. I've never seen anyone like him in my life. Stop just because you can't catch me doesn't mean you should." Slam. So he was running away from this thing, so things are going to go down. But going back to that panel really quick. This could very easily just be zone. she has a devil fruit. She's a zone user, and she could be transforming likely into a dinosaur or another type of dragon, maybe a European-style dragon, or, to be more like her father in that regard, or she could be turning into one of the more classic dinosaurs. We haven't seen Tyrannosaurus Rex yet. A lot of people mistake X Drake for being a T-Rex, but very classic for Yamato to be that. Or maybe she's not transforming at all. Maybe this is nothing to do with being a zone, which I think is one of the things people are going to bring up as a possibility. Is it likely? No, this was probably her starting to transform into her zone power. It could be a mythical zone. She could be becoming, you notice that, everybody's fang teeth, or I forget what they're actually called, but everybody has fang teeth, right? And it's usually, 3 or 4 teeth in, and those are your main, sharpest teeth. In this panel, we see that those ones seem to be getting increasingly long. So, saber-toothed tiger as a mythical zone, maybe? I did call one of the Topiropo would be a saber-toothed tiger, where we already had a mammoth with Jack. It would only make sense that a saber-toothed tiger wouldn't be far behind in Kaido's crew. 2 of the most popular non-dinosaur prehistoric creatures in our history. I was on board with that. It's entirely possible, or that could have just been, the way it was drawn. So, but definitely, I think we're all hoping, T-Rex would be really cool, but seems too basic for Yamato, doesn't it? We need, it'd still be an ancient zone, I suppose, but at the same time, wouldn't you want Yamato to be a mythical zone? So we need something a little more legendary. We need a European dragon or something like that. And it very easily could be, you could sort of spin it, you could find one of those legends about, there is a legend about a certain giant saber-toothed cat or something like that. So you could sort of spin it into sort of being a mythical zone or something. But either way, I'd like to hear what you guys think down below. What do you think? Is Yamato a zone user? What type of zone is it going to be? And is this related to it, or is it something completely different? I'd love to hear about that. So next page. So the hotshot thing is just causing havoc, and but it broke the floor. So this is where they're sort of going to escape. We have Frankie, we have Yamato, Shinobu, Momonosuke, everybody's sort of falling along with a lot of the armored division, but they apparently seem to all be safe while free falling, and saying down was an option. We'll escape through the floor, Momonosuke and Shinobu. Frankie asks if they're all right and stuff, and we're being rescued. Frankie's like, who is that? And Yamato says, Luffy put me in charge of these 2, so here, take this. And he says, in that case, sure thing, whoever you are, I super got this. And so now, I guess they're escaping or something like that. Either way, it's a little, said, Frankie the Cyborg, take care of this sort of idea. They seem to be free falling, but then Frankie sort of got caught and stopped. It seems like there was a double hole. So there was the initial hole, they all fell through. And then there's another hole created from that, I guess, blow or whatever. Frankie stopped at the first level, while Yamato, Shinobu, and Momonosuke continued downwards. And Frankie's like, don't worry, I super got this, right? And Yamato, while free falling, and that looks like conquerors to me, it's probably not, or it could be. See, it's hard to tell, it's all black and white, right? But either way, charges up. We're seeing the crack, 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 and she says, I can take out at least one, and just uses a Nari Kaburo arrow, and looks like it, is that piercing through the number's friggin' chin? It looks like it's supposed to be piercing right through. It could just be a blow, but yeah, that thing's down. That thing's down for the count now. So, and by the looks of it here, we're not really seeing a bunch of blood from the chin, so I'm imagining it was just a huge, heavy blow to the chin, went bam, slam, and down. That mysterious person did that. Who was that? And Sasuke's like, oh no, Yamato just took Momonosuke down that hole, and the hotshot is down. So, after this, we see Yamato still running with Shinobu and Momonosuke trying to escape, and says, you must survive. It is imperative that you survive, Momonosuke. You are the one who must guide the world to the dawn. Okay, so once again, a lot of people probably going nuts with the whole will of D. Does D stand for dawn? Dawn has always been, where it's romance dawn at the beginning of the series, dawn has always been an option for what the D actually stands for. So once again, we're seeing the word dawn being used here. It's been used before, it's being used again. Then we jump over to the second basement floor and we see Law. And we see him remembering Corazon, saying, the enemies of God, the people, the will of D. My true name is Trafalgar D. Water Law. And so he found a poneglyph. Now, once again, Kaido got here, he wasn't here this entire time. I mean, he's been here for decades, but he hasn't been here all the time. So the poneglyphs, there was of course going to be poneglyphs in Wano. Whether or not the Rio or the red poneglyph was always in Wano is led to be, did Kaido always possess it? Was it one of Rox's? It's sort of like the Big Mom one, but it wouldn't strike me as odd if one of the Rio poneglyphs was actually always on Wano and Kaido just happened to take it over, and now that's how he obtained one. But according to Law right here, the one here is not a red or Rio poneglyph. So there is one, seemingly the way that Law went, there is one here, but it's not, one of the four. So, but what this one says and what it means, of course, he can't read it, but there could be so much information on this. They're making a point to show us this, and we even have a flashback with Robin here that I don't believe we've ever seen, with Robin and Law speaking about, the will of D. And here she said, you have it too. You're the only one I've told this to, said Law. Says, thank you for your trust, but I don't have the answers for you. Luffy may not care, which of course he doesn't, but I find the D name to be fascinating. So the only way is to follow the red stones? Yes, and that means beating the four emperors. Not that they'll make it easy, says Robin with a smile. So, but clearly Robin and Law traded information, which that only makes total sense. I don't remember this conversation. This could have happened, but I think this is a newer flashback. But I'm not the dictionary. I'm not the encyclopedia of One Piece, so maybe this did happen at some point. Either way, Law is saying that, hey, Korra, I've made up my mind. I want to know the meaning of this checkered fate. So he's going to continue on. He's trying to find the red stone. So maybe Law will get the rubbing of the poneglyph at the end of all this and stuff. I mean, that would be an interesting twist. I really want to know what this stone says. It could just be some of the history of Onigashima and Wano in general. Because there are so many of them out there, and a lot of them do just have the history of the country. But it would be very interesting if Robin ends up finding this room as well, or Law tells Robin that there was one, but it wasn't red, and Robin, of course, seeking all the knowledge, would go down and see it. That'd be really cool. Either way, they're on the third floor now, and we're jumping over to Kid and Killer making mayhem. It's Eustace Captain Kidd! He's dragging along all the scrap metal in the place, and we see that. That looks really cool. He's just causing a bunch of havoc, it seems. And Killer's going nuts, too. Our enemy is the world's strongest pirate. You can't have too much. And he said, good answer, good question, blah, blah, blah. Then we jump over to the top of Onigashima, where Kaido is just slaughtering. And I mean slaughtering all the samurai. He's slaughtering our 9 red scabbards. He's just making mincemeat out of them. One thing I still want to bring up is, why was Killer working for... did I ever get a clear answer on this? Maybe somebody could help me out here. Killer was working for the... what is his name now? Wario. What is his name? I mean, Kaido killed him. Man, Orochi. Jeez, how could I forget that? But yeah, he was working for Orochi and all this stuff, and he went to go kill Zoro as this killer sort of idea, ironically, and as this murderer and stuff. Was he doing that because Kid was in jail? Like, he was just working for them because he had no other way to do it. I never really got a full explanation because Killer seems to know who he is. He just can't help but laugh. He got Joker toxined, right? Sort of idea. So I understand that, but Killer is basically back to himself other than the whole laughing thing, and he's talking to Kid and stuff, and they're still best friends. So I don't think it was ever really made clear how did that situation come about. Did he think did they promise him, oh, if you work for us for a few years, maybe we'll let your captain go or something? I still sort of don't really get how that came about. But anyways, so we're seeing Kinemon taking it. We're seeing Denjiro. I mean, they're all still seem to be wounding Kaido in his normal form. They're all still wounding him. They're slashing him. Denjiro stabs him and stuff. But at the end of the day, they're all down. And Kaido seems to be standing tall with his skinny legs. With his skinny legs. We see Raizo. We see Shinomaru. They're all seem to be down for the count. He has really devastated them, and I don't think we expected anything else, really. The last couple of pages showcase the performance of Floor's Skull Dome, so the first floor, I guess, or sort of, yeah, it's where Big Mom is, and she's rushing forward, as we knew from before. She's rushing forward to Big Mom's back to join the fight. We're seeing all the ice Onis and all the problems there. We see Chopper is now back to his usual form, but he's half covered in ice Oni, so hopefully he figures that out soon. Apu is still fighting against Zoro and X-Drake, it looks like. We get a reaction from Robin. Big Mom says, don't worry, I'm only interested in going up to where Kaido is. So, are we going to see either the two Yonkos battle because they're going to argue over who's going to do what, which would be epic, or are we going to see them have to fight both Kaido and Big Mom at the same time? We're gonna have to they're all gonna have to get up there. All the supernovas in check. Zoro's got to get up there. Luffy, Jinbei. We need Law and Kid and Killer. We need all them up there. Marco. All these guys need to get up there and fight two Yonko at the same time. This is getting heavy. So the last page shows the middle of the second floor where Luffy is still running around with Jinbei and Sanji just kicking the crap out of everything. The roof above is the fifth floor. Got it, just you wait, Kinemon. And Sanji says, hey, do you guys hear that? Can't you hear it from the third floor? Okay, so the roof is above the fifth floor. They're on the middle of the second floor, so one floor above it would be the third floor. And they say, hear what? And Sanji says, he's like, he can hear it. Strom, strom, strom. Come, my dear, that's it. But my lord, you mustn't. It would be so naughty. Ting, ting, ting. So, yeah, Black Maria versus Sanji. Sanji gonna simp once again. Remember, you're a married man now, Sanji. Sorta, not really, but still. Pudding wouldn't like this. Pudding won't like this. And I sort of feel bad for Pudding. Funnily enough, Oda said years ago, that's the end of the chapter, guys. Funnily enough, Oda, I believe, said years ago in an SBS or an interview that he wasn't planning on making any of the Straw Hats be romantically involved with each other. I don't believe he said he was never going to have nobody hook up with somebody else, but it was never going to be an on-crew relation. So Nami or Robin are never going to hook up with, Frankie and Sanji, which are two very... I still don't get the Frankie Robin thing. I don't get why people are into that. But, Sanji, that's never going to happen. So, from what we understand, it doesn't mean that Zoro might not hook up with Tashigi eventually in the future. Or Sanji and Pudding will actually get together at the end, But there will not be inter-crew relationships in that way. So I believe he said something to that effect. So yeah, I'm assuming this is Black Maria 100%. We already saw her doing her little mini concert for herself sort of idea. She might be on the third floor. That might be where she went. I don't remember. So yeah, chapter 996. We're gonna have to see what happens from here. I like the chapter. I don't think it was oh my God, so much happened. But I mean, we have some excitement. Once again, I feel like everything's building. Like this year, the rest of this year, the last 3 or 4 chapters are all going to be just building up, building up, building up. And then we're going to go, all right, let's start the main battle. You know what I mean? New year, 2021, we're going to start to see Luffy v. Kaido. You know, that's going to be sort of what are going after here, right? Because it's all just set up. We're jumping all over. People are beating each other. There's war breaking out. It's going nuts. Now, the anime has an opportunity here, like they did in Marineford, to just showcase more of this, showcase a lot more of the fighting and the battles and stuff without doing anything that the manga wouldn't. But Oda needs to move this along, like a lot of people are complaining. Like people, you're never going to make all the fans happy, of course. You're never going to have people, they're going to say, oh, you're skipping fights or the pace is too slow. You know, if we watched all these fights, it just, you know, at the end of the day, we knew Kaido was going to beat the crap out of the 9 Red Scabbards. They were not going to be the ones to defeat Kaido. We knew that. So showing us that entire battle is not good for pacing, right? So, and we did see quite a bit of that. Same with Jack versus them. We knew Jack was going to go down. You know, this is the arc where they might take down 1 or 2 Yonko. Actually take them down. Not run away like Whole Cake, but actually defeat a Yonko. It's the right time for it. It's been years since Whitebeard's fall. And Blackbeard stepped up and Shanks stepped up and all this crap happened. So it's sort of time to see that happen. Whole Cake was the setup for Wano. Now we're here. It's like, I'm really stoked to see what's going to go down. Yeah, chapter 997 I think will be really good. If I had to rate this chapter, like nothing major happened necessarily, but it was a good setup. So it was a good chapter, you know, 6, 7 out of 10. But not like, wow, 10 out of 10, crazy, right? But we need these type of chapters, right? We're building to something. We're building to the big battles. And they're going to be epic when we finally get them. So just be patient with me, guys, as a One Piece fan. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. A little bit of a longer review and stuff, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm like 3 or 4 days late by the time this comes out anyway. So like, comment, and subscribe as always, ladies and gentlemen. It's always very much appreciated. We will see you guys back here again. Don't forget to drink responsibly, as always. This has been Griever, signing out. Later, everybody.